It's Workout Wednesday. Pause and screenshot. Let's get to it. Different gyms will have a different lat pull down machine, but if you're able to, use one that has a unilateral effect, meaning that you can work one arm at a time. So the benefit here is that one arm can't work harder or do more work than the other arm or the other side. You do want to make sure that you're using a weight that you can control. Get a little bit of a pause in the bottom. It's going to make it a little tougher. And you can go any grip you would like. What I like about the handles I'm using here is I can kind of mix it up. I can turn, I can do a little bit more of an underhand grip. So play with that to hit different areas of the back. Use a weight that is challenging, but don't use a weight that's so heavy you're having to kind of strain or muscle into it. You want to make sure that you're able to focus on really squeezing the back and not just muscling through or straining through or swinging through the exercise. This dumbbell shoulder press is made just a little bit more challenging because even though I'm alternating arms here, my non-working arm is still working in that it has to hold up the entire time. So you can also, with a dumbbell press, do a more neutral grip. So if that forward facing dumbbell hurts your shoulder at all, try a neutral grip and see if that works for you. Make sure that you're not arching your back, so you don't want to be kind of straining through the low back. Make sure that you're keeping your spine neutral, core is tight, and you're not seesawing the weights like this, but rather one at a time, moving up and down. So the non-working arm is still working. I call this row variation a rack row, and it's simply because my hand that's supporting my body is on the dumbbell rack. You could easily use a bench or a chair or something like that. But the reason I like this particular type of row is because since my knees are not supported, then my core, my obliques specifically, are really working here as I go through the move. Now with back, make sure you're using a heavy enough weight to challenge that muscle. The lats are one of the biggest muscle groups in our body. So go heavy enough, but allow for a big range of motion and no swinging or straining. When you're doing a chest fly, think about hugging a tree or a barrel in front of you. So my arms aren't perfectly straight, but they're also not bent either. So think about in front of you, hugging a nice wide barrel or tree. And you want to think about pressing the palms together, not necessarily the fingers, if that makes sense. That's going to help you really work the chest. When it comes to how far you should open up one as far as is comfortable in your shoulders, but also make sure that you don't go too far back. Back here every time is putting a lot of strain on the shoulder. So keep the range of motion comfortable. And also this is not a particular exercise that you want to max out on the weight, but rather choose a weight that allows for perfect form for 12 or 15 reps. When you're doing a rear delt fly, you want to have soft elbows where your arms are pretty straight, but not locked out. And you're working the rear delts, which is not a super big muscle group. And when you want to isolate the rear delts, you want to make sure that the back is not taking over. It will work some, but really try to isolate. Keep the weight to where you could do 12 to 15 reps without straining or feeling the exercise in your neck. Skull crusher is a great exercise for the triceps. Think about pointing those elbows up to the ceiling, and you're bringing the bar toward literally your skull or your forehead. So we're not bringing it way overhead like this. We're not bringing it down like a close grip press, but think about bending those elbows, pointing them up toward the ceiling as much as you can. Focus on that, and then bring the bar almost touching to your forehead. A high row is going to target the anterior delts, the front side of the shoulder. Make sure again that your weight is not so heavy that you're feeling it in your neck. And anytime you're able to do a good pause in that contraction, you're going to work even harder. So 2 count up, 2 count down, keep it smooth. And remember those elbows are flaring out to the side. We're not shrugging the weight up, but rather think about dragging the elbows out as you come up. With a bicep curl, you want to keep that weight controlled. I like to think of it as a 2 count up and then a 2 count down. Make sure you're not turning your bicep curl into a hip thrust, as I see some people do sometimes. So smooth and controlled. Core is tight, no arching the back.